I spotted the book in the bookshop. I picked it up and bought it straight away. And when I'd finished reading the story, I thought to myself, I must make a film out of this one. So I wrote to Kyoko Nakajima at once and said, well, if you still have the rights, I would absolutely love to purchase the film rights. I wrote a letter saying all of this. As I've already mentioned, the novel was something that I found really fascinating. I was looking to make a film about adultery. I read the story, and I thought to myself, back then, if a woman were married but loved another man, it was really dreadful. It was dreadful for her as well, because back in that era, in Japan, there was actually legislation, as a matter of fact, forbidding a married woman to have contact with a man who wasn't her husband. So there really was legislation against that. So for the young wife, if MD found out that she was an adulteress, if her husband had found it out in particular, then he would have been able to go to the police and bring charges against her, and she could have been arrested. That was how the legal situation was back in those days. Women didn't have the right to vote in that era in Japan either. And up until 1945, women had very limited scope to take action in Japan. They had very restricted rights, and it must have been dreadful to love somebody who wasn't your husband. Things are very different now. To what extent do you think that between the wars, between the First World War and the Second World War, between all those wars, to what extent do you think that women in Japan had a different body language, different gestures? How did you prepare for this role from that point of view? Well, yes, that's right. Women used to be much more elegant and have much more fluid movements. They were better dressed as well. I feel ashamed, actually, when I see images from those days. So I tried to see a lot of old films. Mr. Yamada also showed me how to put a kimono on properly and how to put it into place properly. He really focused on all of the details, and I was delighted to learn all of that. Yes, if you wear a kimono, then you can't run, for example. Women didn't run in those days. They walked more slowly. Of course, they tried to walk fast with very short steps, but you couldn't really do much more than that then. I'd like to ask Mr. Yamada to say a few words about the image at the start of the film. This box full of memories. Is your filmmaking style similar to that, similar to a box where you can put memories inside so that they don't get lost? There's different kinds of boxes. You see one box where things are preserved, but one where things are cleared out. You see a lot of cases like this. In Japan, somebody who lives on their own, and when they die, along comes a removal company and clears out the house. No matter how poor you are, if you've had a long life, there's all kinds of things, bed linen, clothes, furniture. And that is all cleared out. So you pay a removal company so that they take that kind of thing away. And that means that memories and remembrances of those old people just vanish. A lot of people die lonely and in isolation in Japan, and will continue to be a lot of old people dying alone because they live on their own. The elderly Japanese are concerned about how old age will be for them. So I wasn't thinking about a box from memory at the beginning. It's more like a box when things are cleared out, it's something very sad, very tragic in a sense. Whenever an elderly person dies, all of their memories are put into a box and thrown away. My film's different. I collect my memories and I make that into a casket of treasures.